Duck and cover.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Classical Music. I'm Andrew Byrne. Today joining me is Morgan Davison, an American bassoonist who's based in New York City, currently pursuing a graduate degree in historical performance at the Juilliard School. Morgan is probably best known for her very successful Instagram channel, Morgan Practices Bassoon, where she posts regular videos of her practice routine for an audience of over 30,000 followers. Morgan, thanks for joining me today.
Very nice to be here. Thank you, Andrew.
Great. So can you tell us the story of how you began this Instagram account?
Yeah, of course. So a little bit over, I think now 3 years ago, I was attending a summer festival, and I had just graduated with my Bachelor of Music in classical bassoon performance, and I was sorry, I was about to graduate. I was going into my senior year at Manhattan School of Music, and I was about to audition for all of these grad schools, and it just felt like I didn't really think that I was super prepared. I had loved the years that I had spent already in my undergrad, and I just don't think that I had prepared super hard enough.
Sure.
So at this summer festival, I kind of had a reckoning with myself, and I was racking my brain for things that I could possibly do to really help myself get into a school that I would be happy at, and into a school environment that would be challenging enough for me. And I knew from the very beginning that I needed to practice more. And that was a hard realization to have, because you don't really ever want to admit to yourself that you're not doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have that realization, and I needed to do something about it. And the first thing that I thought was that I needed to somehow hold myself accountable for practice. And so I was kind of just thinking through ways that I could possibly do that, and I decided that I would start recording myself. And at this point, it was not for Instagram. It was just for me, just for my own purposes. So I started recording myself audio, and then that changed to video. And I noticed things immediately. As soon as I stopped recording, one excerpt or one anything, I was like, "Ooh, I had no idea that that is what it actually sounded like. I'm out of tune. The tone is not centered." And I
Mm-hmm.
just started noticing all these problems about my playing that I just had never noticed before, because I had never recorded myself.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a very monumental moment for me in discovering that my recorded self sounds different than my actual self. And so I decided that I would start an Instagram page to keep track of all of these videos that I was posting throughout the days, just documenting little snippets of my practice with what I was struggling with, and then kind of keeping a diary in the caption of what I would like to change about my playing in order to help fix that for the next time. And I had thought about making the Instagram private, because again, it started off just with me, just for me, for my
Mm-hmm.
own personal practice. But then I decided that if I really truly wanted to keep myself accountable, I would have to make the Instagram public, so that anybody could see what I was doing, and that would really kick me into gear in order of accountability. And so that's what I did. And then I don't really know what happened, but more people just started watching what I was doing and liking what I was doing, so I kept doing it, and now almost 3 years later, we're here.
So this was 2018, is that right?
Yes, 2018.
Would you say it's sort of snowballed quite quickly, or did it take some time?
It took a little bit of time, but I would say after 3 months, maybe, I had already gained 1,500 followers, and that was just mind blowing to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about how you produce the content. Your channel, is it basically everything done on your phone?
Yes. Everything is done on my phone. There are some videos that I put a little bit more work into, and I have a Yeti microphone that I just plug into my my Mac, and I use GarageBand to record, and then um, for almost all of my videos, I usually just take my iPhone and prop it up in front of me in an angle that's good for the viewer,
Mhm.
and just record.
Okay, let's think about this on a daily basis. How much work would you say maintaining your account requires per day?
It depends on the day and on the post and on my practice session. Sometimes I'd like to say more about what I'm doing, which requires a little bit more thought into creating a coherent caption.
Hmm.
And other days, it's just a miracle that anything good happened at all in my practice session. So that's worth posting about. On a slightly different note, for Saturdays, since I do the Stravinsky Saturday post, that takes effort. That takes the longest amount of preparation because I do the research, I pick the piece, and um, I find what I think is relevant, and I whittle that down from this. If I could, I would write essays on it, but I have to
Hmm.
whittle it down to a caption that's long enough for Instagram. So those posts take the longest and take the most preparation. But on any daily, you know, practice session, I would say that it probably takes 30 minutes to create a post and then be happy with what I'm posting.
Has this success on Instagram led you to opportunities offline that you think were beneficial to your career?
Yes, very much so. Um, First of all, I think this is incredibly helpful, and I
This
love doing these.
this is online.
Oh, you
Like,
mean offline?
yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
see.
Sorry.
Um, hmm. Well, it's funny. I think that one of the biggest things offline that has happened for me is the amount of times that I get recognized and on like a daily basis, which is
Like on the
kind
street?
of like on the street,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
or in the subway. There was one time where I was riding the subway, maybe last year, and there's this girl with a violin case, and just that's normal. You see people with instruments, and right before I got off, she stopped me and she's like, "Are you Morgan Practice's bassoon?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, wow! I can't believe this is happening." But yes, so that's probably the biggest the biggest offline thing. But yeah,
But you haven't, have you had, like, has someone called you up to propose a program or so to them or something? Has anything like that happened so far?
I have a couple of opportunities. Actually, this past summer, well, that's the problem. This was an online thing, but
Oh,
I did an online lecture for Bassoons Without Borders with Karen Miller Packwood. Um, but that was, it was different. It was a different online setting because it was lecture based, and that was the first talk that I had ever given. So that was certainly a grand opportunity. I felt like that was really, really awesome.
you sell bassoon reeds on your website.
I
Like,
do.
is that related? Is that helped? Has Instagram helped you sell bassoon reeds?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It basically single-handedly runs my read business.
Okay. So that's, as your followers go up, your sales increase, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I've established, I guess, locals maybe is what you would call it, like
Mm-hmm.
returners who like my reads, and they're from my Instagram too, and I always get comments, love what you're doing. Thank you so much for making these reads, and that's really comforting.
I'm going to ask you a very broad and vague question. Would you say that this account has changed your career or how you
I
see your path changed?
It has changed my career. Yes, all for the better. There's nothing that has changed in my own sense of what I think my goal is. My goal is to be a bassoonist in an orchestra, whether that be Baroque, modern, whatever. I just love playing bassoon and I love playing music. And the Instagram account, whether I have it or whether I don't have it, that would still be my goal.
Mhm.
But my account just helps open all these doors that I didn't know were even there. I didn't know that they existed. And it's really helping me to make connections that are furthering my career and are helping me with my career. So that is the biggest change, is that I've been making all these connections and building this platform for myself, that is developing how my career is shaped.
Has your self-image changed now that you've developed a following this big?
Yes. Sometimes worse, sometimes better. That's the beauty of the internet.
Mm.
Um, it can be hard sometimes to put honest, real videos of yourself out there for 30,000 people to see. But in the end, at least for me personally, that is how I truly, I don't really know how to put it accurately, but that's how I view myself. I would love to be as open and as honest and as real with myself as I possibly can, to keep a clear conscience, so that I can, really focus on what I need to focus on. And, with my self image on the internet, that's who I want to be. That is who I am. So, um, that can also be empowering too. It's really nice, to bring an air of confidence to myself when I feel like I am lacking confidence for the day or something. And, if I don't feel very good in my practice session, I'll scroll back through, the memory lane, if you want to call it, and
Mhm.
see how far I've come since the beginning. And that's really empowering, and that truly helps my self image. So, kind of a double edged sword.
Do you know if your colleagues see you any differently?
I don't think that I can accurately comment on that. I do know that they do see me a little bit differently, because um, I've had conversations with my friends and with my colleagues, and I'll say something. I can't come up with an example now, but they're like, "Oh, but you're the big Instagram celebrity," and it's like, well, I don't really want to label myself as that, even though that is part of who I am.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's very jarring sometimes when, I'll meet a colleague for the first time, to play with them in orchestra, or meeting them at an audition or whatever, and they already know who I am.
Mhm.
That's kind of a crazy phenomenon. So that's a little nuts, but that's the
Also,
only.
not that they know who you are, but if you as anybody who has seen your account would say, that you're quite honest about what is not working from day to day,
Yeah.
and that can be hard, I can imagine. Whereas you walk into a room, and if somebody recognizes you, if you're in a bad place, you might say, oh shit, they know everything that I'm not confident in myself about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, that's the whole self-image thing.
Right.
It can be a little, diminishing sometimes when I do post a video of me struggling.
Hmm.
Um, and then that's like the most recent video, say, for example, and then I go and take an audition or something. And if somebody looks me up in that moment, that's the first video that they're going to see. So
Right.
it's, back and forth.
In the last 18 months, would you say that maintaining your Instagram account made a positive, negative, or little impact on your life?
In the last 18 months, positive for sure. Because in the last 18 months, 7 of those were spent in quarantine,
Mm.
and I didn't really have anything to do except make videos. And that really catapulted my sense of motivation, my sense of self, um, and my sense of community built within my Instagram account. And that was super comforting during the worst, throes of the pandemic here
Hmm.
in America. So, um,
Because you were in New York, weren't you, at the beginning of it?
well, I was in New York at the very beginning, and then I retreated back home to live with my parents in Colorado.
Okay.
And just on a side note, it would have been a lot harder, if I had been in New York, uh, just because I was alone in New York. And I
Hmm.
don't think that I feel like it would have had a negative effect if I had stayed in New York and been alone in New York and trying to put out all these videos, just having me, myself, and I and my thoughts, like
Right.
that would be it. So I'm glad that I had the opportunity to go home and spend that time with my family.
Hmm.
But overall, the last 18 months absolutely positive because again, this whole journey started with me holding myself accountable, and I have done that, and I've created, this memory lane that I have for myself to see how far I've come, and that's so motivating. And I just know that, if I continue on this path, only more doors are going to open for me, and I can only further my career and create these opportunities for myself.
Okay, so let's turn this around now. If you felt that you no longer needed Instagram to be a check on your practice, would
Mhm.
you drop it right then and there?
Yeah, I think so. I would not stop recording myself.
Sure.
I would just stop posting the videos.
Right. So that it really is a tool.
Yes, very much so.
In hindsight, if you felt that you had the potential to generate this sort of following on any online platform, we're going back 2018 now, would you still have chosen Instagram?
Yeah, I think so. Um, I really like the layout of Instagram. I like the grid view. I like that it's all it's all right there for you. And with something like Facebook, um, I just feel like there's so much information that's coming at you that it can take away from the content of the actual video or of the actual page. And I think that Instagram is really great at creating a streamline feed or grid pattern that an Instagram creator can follow. And that was really helpful for my practice videos because there was one, just like on any computer, if you want to keep all your files in one folder, it's right there among all the other information. With Instagram, I feel like it is that one folder. You have that one page, and then that's where you create um, all of my videos. And it's just so easy to return to, and so easy to use, and easily accessible that I don't think that I would change anything about the platform that I originally chose. But of course, I can think about branching out to other platforms as well, like YouTube or um, Facebook. Um, with YouTube, I think it requires a little bit more work, and I don't think that I am in a place where I'm ready to make that next jump.
The like the editing and
Mhm.
video creation. So you feel already that what you've been doing on Instagram. I mean, obviously the videos that you post are in the 9:16 format,
Mhm.
which is like not great for YouTube. But
Mhm.
assuming you could flip the phone side, you rotate it 90 degrees, that is still, I'm imagining from what you've just said, that's just not enough.
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference between Instagram and YouTube is even the length of the videos. And I think that Instagram is a very easy way to obtain short forward videos. Like
Mhm.
you get everything that's happening just in that 1 minute video. And when it comes to what the page is about and like what my page is about, which is just practice videos, just little practice snippets of whatever I'm working on in my practice sessions, I feel like with YouTube, I would have to create more coherent videos with an overarching goal of what I'm trying to achieve in my practice sessions, which would absolutely help me. I just don't know if I can take on that challenge yet.
How much would you, I'm going to call it unwanted attention, do you get on Instagram?
A fair bit.
Would you say it's more like, is it easily dismissible, or is it like a constant barrage of this stuff?
It's pretty constant. I'll say that. It's pretty constant, but um I like to think of myself as an introspective person and kind of a thick-skinned person. And so either negative comments or sexist comments or comments that just really get under my skin or messages that the public doesn't see can be really hurtful.
Mm.
And that's the negative side of the internet. People like to hide behind a screen. And unfortunately, if I'm a creator with all of these followers who are with me for a positive side, there are also people that are with me for a negative side
Mm.
as well. And again, I like to think of myself as a thick-skinned person. So if I see something that, just again gets under my skin or irks me or whatever, I can pretty easily just turn the phone off or, delete the comment or something.
Mm.
Actually, when it comes to the comments, uh, I I tend to not delete the ones that are really negative because to me, if someone's going to do something or say something harmful for everybody to see, then that's on them.
Mm.
And it's on me to take it the way that I will take it. And I can choose to take it negatively and go off and start a fight in the comments. But ultimately, for me personally, that's just not worth it. And it's easier to just let them have their say and then move on with my life.
Mm.
Um, so I would say, yeah, it's pretty constant. But because it's constant, I've kind of, uh, built a wall around that and built my own barrage. And it's fine.
And when we're talking about these comments, I mean, generally we're talking about people like dumping on your practice, or are we talking about all sorts of stuff here?
All
Sexual.
sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the things that get to me the most is yeah, the sexism and people from other cultures who maybe regard women as a lesser sex.
Yeah.
Um, and that's, again, with the internet, it's open to everyone all around the world. And I feel like Americans have this problem where they think that the internet was made for Americans. And it's always very strange to see comments from someone who is not from America
Yeah.
and to kind of understand where they're coming from and understand that they have a different culture. And I'm not saying that I agree with cultures that
Oh,
that
sure. Sure.
um,
Sure.
diminish women, but
Yeah.
I do take that into consideration,
There's a
and
real clash sometimes, clash of civilizations.
yeah.
Yeah. In terms of work, motivation for work, or the amount of work that it takes, what would you say is the biggest challenge that has faced you over the last 3 years in maintaining this account?
I would say motivation, honestly. Um, with anything, if you get into a routine of doing something and you do something daily, um, it can run you down a little bit, or it can begin to feel like a habit. And habits can easily just get lost. Um, and something that I have noticed with my Instagram is that from the very beginning, I was super excited and super motivated, and I saw the change immediately. But then maybe after a year and after my life got pretty hectic with either a summer festival or school or life, um, there were times when it was really hard to put out content or to feel like I was um, valid enough, if that makes sense, to put
Mhm.
out content. Um, and so there were times when I took a break, and I think that the best advice that I have for anybody who's looking to get into creating content on the internet, whether it's musical or non-musical, is to just really be in touch with yourself and to know when when you're reaching a breaking point. And that can either be internet based or not internet based. It can be personal too. And it's okay to take a break and it's okay to not post content. And at the same time, it's also okay to post content, but not as much as you would have hoped. Um, because in the end, everyone's on their own path and everyone is doing their own thing. And you can't to me, in my opinion, you can't really have some end all be all way, some magic, magic recipe that will help you be happy in your career and in your life and what you're doing on the internet. Because you're always going to judge yourself no matter what for whatever you do. Um, so I think that everything in moderation is probably the best way to go. And from there, I think you can find a lot of motivation just in learning the habits of yourself and how you function and how you want to put yourself out to the public and to the internet. So yeah, everything in moderation.
Morgan Davison, thank you very much for speaking to me today.
Thank you, Andrew.